Yeah, so here we go again. It's Sunday night, 10 on the spot. Um, Film club was fun, I guess. We had a gaffer who shares a name with many a gaffer I know, and set electricians, and a best boy. Um, Present on lighting. Learned one or two new things, primarily terminology for the English language, because I am in the German space. So I didn't know. What did I not know? Bloody hell. Something I didn't know. Oh yeah, nets being Falaufer. Learned something new, I guess. That was a fun one. Uh, I did screen a bit of an excerpt of 20.24, formerly known as Working Title Smoke and Mirrors. Uh, it was not the failure I was prepared for. There was some technical difficulties which made it not a full-on success. Those being too many people in the Wi-Fi network and not able to turn off their Wi-Fi upon request. I suspect it has something to do with people not knowing how to turn off Wi-Fi on an iPhone, that you have to go to settings and you can't do it via control center. You haven't been able to since iOS 12, I believe. I'm not sure on that. But I managed to screen a solid minute or so without interference, so that worked out. Just after they all disabled it in control center, well, some of them. Guess I should have been clearer on how to turn off Wi-Fi. Expecting people to operate their phones and knowing how to operate their phones might be too much. Who knows? I'm still quite happy though. Got some feedback. Not enough negative feedback. Still didn't get no negative feedback. I'm looking for some negative because it can't all be positive. I mean, that feel kind of like a circle jerk, you know. It's funny how that works, really. I come to realise how much in regards to lighting I know through working in light storage. Like, quite happy with that. Yeah, the only things I didn't know was that, and one other thing which I know exists, never seen it, never even used the term in German. I don't know what the German word is, so who knows, but find out eventually long term. Guess that's what's going to happen if I end up working in the industry, even in the rental. Someone will request it, and I'll have to look it up using translator like Lingua or so. That's going to be a fun one. I was really anxious before. Most of that anxiety is now relieved, which I guess is good. I'm still anxious about general life. Tomorrow I've got presentation with uni for something for which I've only been part of a group since after last lesson, not even during last lesson. And the tutor was very unclear as to what they wanted presented, because last time I hadn't even mentioned there was going to be a presentation this time. They had mentioned it in the initial briefing in the second lesson, but they had not mentioned it last time when we asked what they want till this time, that being tomorrow, 14 hours from now, maybe 15 hours and 12 minutes from now. Guess that's a failure on both ends. We could have brought it up as students and reminded the tutor of there being a presentation due then. And in general, the group finding took too long, but we'll manage. Good news is I can present anything without any preparation, just because I'm good at waffling on, as I do here on the regular basis, you know. So that works for presenting, and usually that's good enough for presentations of at least uni. Wouldn't be surprised if it's good enough for presentations professionally as well, just because I care about the subject matter I find out about. Still drinking on the same bottle of stuff. Thomas Henry Spicy Ginger. Now, actually, Thomas Henry Spicy Ginger Beer, though, I thought that was not legal naming convention for Germany because it's got beer in it and it's not got only beer ingredients, so... Driving has been real fun. Though there was one thing where I got a very amber light. It was like 2.5 seconds amber. And they turned red after 3 seconds, so that was very dodgy. And I even out loud said, "Ooh, that's dodgy even for you, Ben," as if I were below the standard, which I do not think reflects reality. I'm not sure. I don't spend enough time standing at traffic lights observing people run the red light, but just from what I observe while driving, a lot of people run red lights even a second after they're no longer amber, once they're red, which I guess comparison is the end of all joy. But here we go, back round, one more story loop, a comparison being the end of all joy. But I said, oh, even for me that's tight. And I guess even for me is the only comparison that matters in this case. Then again, I was doing the speed limit, and at that point the speed limit is at the point where 3 seconds is the absolute minimum for lights. Optionally, I believe they can be up to 4 seconds. These are not, but they can be on the amber phase, that is, on the yellow phase. So I guess that's something. Beside that, worked smoothly. I really like driving at this hour on Sundays, particularly until this hour on Sundays, because starting 10 there is speed limits which are 10 p.m. to 6 in the a.m. restricted to 30 kph instead of 50, just because of noise and so on. But time between 6 in the p.m. and 10 in the p.m. on Sundays is probably the best hours for driving in the city, just because you don't got no traffic, and you get to keep all your flow. You might catch 1 or 2 red sets of lights if you turn onto another road or so, but beside that you'll get a green phase going all the way. I had a total of 3 lights coming from Film Club to here, and it's a lot of lights from there to here. There's a lot of lights from there to anywhere, realistically. That is not fairly central. I mean, just to get from Film Club to the next junction where you can go any direction other than the area Film Club is at least 2 sets of lights, no matter which way you go. And I only caught 3 red lights on the way to here, which includes lights in my proximity, which are not avoidable for getting here. I guess I kind of want negative feedback for formerly known as Working Title Smoke and Mirrors 20.24, but I don't know how to encourage it, and I think that might just be a self-esteem issue, because at the end of the day, yeah, okay, I only spent 7 months of my time on it, but 7 months is still quite a lot of time, and probably spent 4-digit hours on it, with compute included, guaranteed 4-digit hours. That's just on the visuals, and then I also organised and facilitated the audio professionals doing their part. Both dear friends of mine, I guess. Well, at least friends, perhaps even dear. But no one, I don't want to say no one has the balls to say what's wrong with it, but I'm starting to believe can't be that good, because all I get is positive feedback. And I guess it is experimental, which means there is an aspect of it's very subjective, and people don't want to utter their negative opinions about something else because they are aware it's their opinion. Then again, I might just have to recognise the fact I made a good film, at least technically, for the non-subjective parts, which I guess is an odd feeling, just with self-esteem, I guess. Then again, my self-esteem get boosts on the regular these days, just because I do a good job and I've gotten to know shit. Today, that lighting course, well, was more theory, it weren't a course. That lighting presentation really stroked my ego quite a bit. I even got to yell in one funny thing, which is HMIs, Hydrargium medium arc iodine lamps. The only reason I know it is because, well, I know it from memory, is because I had to write it several times in my presentation, for which, well, not presentation, in my documentation for uni, which had a character minimum, so I was incentivized to write Hydrargium medium arc iodine lamps instead of HMIs, because, surprise, it's a lot more characters. I wouldn't be surprised if I got easily 100 characters out of just that instead of the abbreviation. And with 6,000 character minimum, that's not bad. I mean, that's like a minute of the whole writing, if you go by either angular or temporal. One would think that's inflate the writing and it lose value, but I don't think anyone really cares about the character minimums. It's just they give them to cover the arse, I guess. Oh, I just realised I want to turn on Do Not Disturb because I started getting messages and I don't want this video to cut off if someone called me. And then I realised ever since I updated the watch, I don't actually know how to do so quickly, which is horrendous. I really don't like that. And I delayed the watch update as long as I could because I knew the update was not going to be to my liking. But it started to get to the point where it couldn't sync with the phone regarding its percentage and so on. And latest to that point, I had to update. Oh, I guess that opens up another can of worms, which is satisfaction with a full package provider of Apple. The screening today didn't go too smoothly, and it didn't go too smoothly because there was too many phones in the Wi-Fi. But the only thing requesting to send anything to the Apple TV was my phone. And the only thing the Apple TV should have been looking to receive anything from was my phone. I understand there is a Wi-Fi connection somewhere in between. It's not a direct one. So it is probably the networking bottleneck, which admittedly is not Apple's fault. But they like to provide a seamless package, and that was not part of that. I guess it's funny how that works. I don't actually know why I'm sitting here. Guess I just want to share the fact I got a load of anxiety off my back. Oh, and I got some more anxiety with tomorrow's presentation because we don't even know what yet. We're supposed to decide on the subject, but they kind of left us empty-handed last time, so now we just got to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks tomorrow, I guess. It's kind of odd. And tomorrow morning, I think I'll go by the place of my former internship where I'm doing inventory at this time. And I do not expect them to have much capacity for inventory, but that should not matter because I don't need them to participate for what I'm currently doing. So I guess I'll do some inventory tomorrow morning. Give me a reason to get out of bed and out of the house. Show up at the other end of town about time to start work, I guess, or a bit earlier perhaps, which means I'll be leaving here as regular working people are, which is nice. Like I like the structure it gives me in life. I'm still amazed by how many people manage to operate their mobile phones while driving. I don't think that amazement will stop in my life. But I guess I'll find out. Schedule for this week is really rather busy. I have like 3 lectures for uni. I got at minimum completely produce 1 film, optimally also cut another. I got board game night planned on Tuesday night again. Believe I did that like 2 weeks ago last. I did a session just before because I was there early. Odds are I might be there early again this week. We'll see though. Oh, coming up Saturday, I'm invited to a party and I plan on going. I highly suspect I'll be the youngest in the room, if not one of the youngest. It'll be right after a half-day shoot for uni for my elective. But I'm looking forward to it just because I believe the person hosting the party is my favourite human I know in person. No offence to you other humans there. I like a lot of you too, just as much, and I actually like just about any human. Really, no offence. It's just I've known them one of the people I've known the longest, independently of other people in my life whom I'm related to, which means they are my human in my brain. I discovered them for me, which makes them one of my favourite humans, if not the. I'm actually really looking forward to that, and I had considered leaving the car park near uni and heading there with public transport, but I haven't decided on that yet, just because public transport ends up being a pain most of the time I try it. In this case, it would only require one change from U-Bahn to tram. But I still don't know if I'm up for that. Today, as I was early for film club, but not early enough to sit down and talk to myself, because I was unlocking the doors, or I was one of the people supposed to be unlocking the doors. Turns out another person was already inside, but hey. I actually automated some more aspects of my life, just because why not if you can, to the point where I now have 2 NFC stickers in here in the car. One to tap when getting in with the phone, which open up music, set screen lock to lock orientation, play my playlist for driving, which I can change whenever I get a new playlist, I guess, and set the volume to max after connecting to the car stereo, which is real nice. And the second one is saving a tap on the screen or swiping a tap, but for that I have to just take the phone in my hands. Sorry, I'm just picking up some litter I found on the floor. One of the backing papers for one of the NFC stickers. Can't have that. Which then initiate me to input how many cigarettes I've had. Because obviously I keep track. I mean, I keep track for these as well. For these I just do it with memory because I do 1 or 2. Don't think I've done more than 4 in a single session. It might have been only 3. Only, haha. Still a lot. But with driving, I have a pre-counted amount in the front, and once I arrive, I subtract the remnants from that pre-counted amount and input my cigarettes as a number. I don't have to tap multiple times. I just have to tap on the keyboard and then confirm, which is quite nice. These bring up another thing I have been seriously considering, and were it not for my current liquidity tight spot, I'd have probably started trying it. Substituting this tobacco, that is, with CBD grass, or CBD hemp, I guess is the correct term, because it's not cannabis, it's just CBD, because it don't have enough active THC in it, below 0.2% here in Germany, which I believe I'd be allowed to smoke and drive. Should be, don't influence me at all, don't affect me at all. No, actually, that's a good thumbnail. There we go. And I've been considering that, and it is going to be economically a bit harder on me, at least for the beginning, I guess, because I've got to buy some. And realistically, I don't just want to buy 1 or 2 grams, because hell, if you buy those amounts, it's like €10 a gram. And with CBD hemp, turns out you can get stuff for below €2 a gram if you just buy 20 grams, which is not quite as affordable as tobacco. Then again, it burns slower, so figure that out when I get there, once my liquidity tight spot's over. Yeah, liquidity tight spot is a kind way of putting it. I'm broke. But on paper, I should have money because I am owed money by the government. Or a branch of the government. Admittedly, it's a grant/loan. But for the first few months of this year, I got too little because I hadn't considered the aspect that even though I got money for my internship, it took money for me to get there and home because, surprise, they had my rent contract, they had my internship contract, and they couldn't figure that I can't teleport between them. Might be expecting too much. Probably is. Well, evidently it was. But I'll get that sorted. And then I should also get the grant/credit money for last month and this month, which should add up to a fair chunk. Admittedly, I do have a fair bit of expenses coming up and or imminent, I guess. Imminent expenses, that's a good title. Ho ho. Yeah, like I have to buy some soap for showering and so on. I'm currently on like 1.5, 2 showers remaining, my supply. Usually I like to have minimum a month's worth remaining in my flat, but currently I'm too tight a spot liquidity wise to buy in bulk, and I really want to buy in bulk for the next load because I discussed previously I've decided to get some fancy shit, which means I want to buy in bulk to get a bit of a discount, because I'm going to use it anyways. Now that I've decided, no point in saving a couple of bucks. I've made up my mind, and the brand I formerly used is discontinued, so I had to change, which means I now got this remaining, and then I got to buy the expensive shit. And I really don't want to buy it over third-party marketplace or even just their website without an order, or, well, without an offer and then order, because I believe just with buying 10 litres or 12 litres, however many litres they have in a carton, I should be able to get like 10-20% discount, hopefully, fingers crossed, down gedrückt, which would put it at a tank of diesel worth of money, maybe a bit more, maybe a tank of diesel and jerry can, but that should last me a couple of years. So I like the idea of buying shit in bulk, just because I really don't want to have to worry about running out of things. Because as you noticed yesterday, in yesterday's session 112, I had to leave the flat, even though I'd planned on not leaving the flat, just because I'd run out of toothpaste, which is like a legitimate first world problem. Oh, actually, there we go. Legitimate. There we go. That's some thumbnails. Legitimate first world problems. Oh no. But I think I'll manage. I'm still set on food for another 3 weeks or so. I'm going to have to buy milk again end of coming up week, so like Friday, Saturday-ish. Saturday'd actually work out well. I'll find out, but I think Saturday I should have time, depending on how late the party goes. I don't want to have to leave the party early to go grocery shopping though, so I might want to do it before. Have to find out. Yeah, that's going to be a fun one. Back to the one of favourite human / favourite human. I think I have to know someone pretty darn well for them to qualify for that position. So if you are not the person I'm talking about, I really mean no offence in the slightest. I have to know someone really well for them to earn that title. Like, really no offence. I guess it's odd criteria, but I need to have sat for hours with them just talking for funsies, which I haven't done with many people, I guess. Funny how that works. Another thing, someone else who would almost qualify for one of favourite humans' position, though they did not come into my life of my own discovery, so I don't think they'll ever qualify, because that's some odd criteria for this odd term I am using, is, I believe I'm idolising a person, a friend of my dad's, and I have to acknowledge they're human. Like, I don't know in which ways they are human, but they will undoubtedly so be human. And humans make mistakes. Surprise. And I got to acknowledge that, and I've actually considered phoning them up and asking them for something as an example which qualifies them as human for mistakes they've made. Because I don't want this idealistic picture of someone in my head just because I haven't seen them in a long time and I hold them in high esteem. Funny how that worked. When I think, oh yeah, I can just go and see them, but realistically I'm not going to see them this year. Unlikely, if so. So that's going to be a while. Minimum 7 months. That'd be assuming January next year, which I deem unlikely as well. Oof. Tough shit. I'm actually parked one house number away from my place. You wouldn't believe it. Just because there was no parking available immediately in front of my place. Which is just nuts, you know. I mean, hell. I have to walk like 20 metres to get to my front door. Yeah, this is truly first world problems. That might be another title for this. I've been messing around by changing titles and thumbnails for these videos just because I can. And it's kind of a fun game trying to see what YouTube likes. Admittedly, me swearing probably don't help. Me saying these videos are not child friendly probably don't help. Because surprise, you need an account to be able to see them. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do much tonight. I'm most certainly not going to turn on the computer unless I have to for that group work for tomorrow. But I don't think I will. Or I will have to even. So I'm going to just put on some YouTube, some other streaming services. Not to name drop here. Don't want to give free advertising. I guess I just gave it to YouTube. Then again, this is where this is. So, nah. Or some other streaming service, put on something, go to bed, and I'll hopefully sleep in as little as 3 hours, and then I'll be able to get up in 8 hours after 5 hours of sleep, maybe 9 hours after 6 hours of sleep, and head off to my former place of internship because I can, and because it's fun for me. Like, honestly, doing inventory is fun for me. Additionally, it does have the side effect, I don't know, of making me invaluable for that place, because in another year they'll want to do another inventory, and if I'm not working there, they're going to have to find someone else to do it, because I've figured out all the workflows and I haven't left any documentation. Then again, that's also going to make me hard to promote once I do work there. I'm not particularly looking for promotion immediately, at least. And realistically, though I do seek employment in this city, I'm happy with anyone who's going to employ me. I'd prefer a place I know, but if they aren't going to offer, someone else will. So that'll work out, I guess. But I'm only doing that like short to mid-term, so years to maybe 1 or 2 decades, but not long-term. Long-term, I just think there's too many people in this country per area, on this continent, to be fair. Let's say it this way, 3 out of 4, 3.5 out of 7 continents appeal more to me than this one. Yeah, 3.5 seem about right. Call it 2.5, 2 3/4. Bloody hell. We'll call it 5. Just because, why not use irrationals? Funny how things work, really. I like irrationals, especially if people ask rate out of 10. I just give them some irrational, which is in the ballpark of what I want, because you can't quite put a finger on it. Assuming your finger has 0 width, of course. If your finger has width, you can just plop it on. Then again, physics people, just assume we are a ball of meat for many instances. Assume there is no friction. So it's fair enough, I guess, it's fair game. I can assume your finger doesn't have any width. That's what a mathematician would do. I am not a mathematician, just to be clear. Oh, fuck, I'm having way too much fun enjoying myself here, talking to myself. I think this is healthy for me. Like, you should try it. You don't got to upload it on the interwebs as I do. It's just what I do for holding myself accountable, getting other input potentially. Comment section is down below for input, much valued. Thank you very much for watching this, by the way. I can tell you there is a single digit of you lot. And I can also tell you, I will never be doing this here for a living income. Like, this is going to stay my low production effort, mental health balance, at least for the time being. Certainly never going to become a revenue stream of significance, just because I don't like advertising. I'm not good at selling stuff, and I wouldn't want to do ad reads, so nah. That having been said, nah, just kidding. One thing I've come to realise is I am joyous a lot of the time, though I may not be happy. Which is a funny way of looking at things, but I guess it just reflects reality, Like, even if someone cut me off in traffic, I might honk my horn and flash my lights, but I'm laughing while I do it. Just because, I mean, come on, people, grow up. Yeah, oopsies happen. As I well established Wednesday before last, no, last Friday I believe it might have been, or the Friday before then, something like that. Oopsies happen. Don't mean the world's over, but at least don't be a dick about it, and don't do oopsies with intent, because that's just being a dick about it. Like, at least in my opinion. I mean, your opinion might differ. This is in fact a subjective matter. Then again, don't be a dick is a good way of summing up most rules society has created and subgroups of society. Like, even for Film Club, we have guidelines, code of ethics, or whatever you want to call it. And yes, it's a whole page with don't ask me how many words or characters on it, but you can sum it up into don't be a dick, which I guess is fair enough, you know. Don't be a dick is in general good philosophy, in my opinion. Because why would you want to be one? You've got to live with having been one. Like, it's a no-brainer. That having been said, person close to me is what I'd say, to not confuse terms. They've had an experience recently with a group of people being dicks to them. In those cases, I just think, fuck, man, I want to give you a proper hug, you know, but if you find out of things via the phone, you can't actually give physical hugs. Like, it's nuts how that works. And about people like that, I just think, bloody hell, grow up. I mean, yeah, okay, there's many people who never grow up. There is people for whom it would be out of character to grow up. Even people I have loved very much so. I would say we're never grown up. But in that case, it was part of their self. And it did no harm to society at large or individuals of said society. And then there's people who just don't grow up and cause harm to other members of society, which is just a dick move. Oh, come on, don't be that person. Either you grow up one day and you think, oh no, I have to be ashamed about my past, I was a total twat. I mean, hell, I was a total twat of a kid. Like, I was a horrendous kid. Not particularly to my parents, but to other adults. I was hella annoying. Admittedly, part of that might have been due to me being different from society. I'm not fully sure. I don't really care about that because that's in the past, and I don't need to analyse it because that's behind me. Forward thinking mindset. Oh shit. Having said I usually have only 2 smokes during one of these, I think I'll have a third. Just because I'm in a good flow, man. Piezoelectric, because I've spread my knees, which means I cannot reach my Zippo Go-To lighter due to sitting here with spread knees and feet together, which means I can't reach my hip pocket very well. Oh no. It's funny how many things in life boil down to people telling or teaching others, don't be a dick. Like, for basic internship stuff, there have been other interns I have observed in places that did not have the motivation I did as intern, which I don't understand because, to my understanding, they did internships of their own accord, which means they were there because they want to be there. And then they daddle on their phone also. Like, come on, grow up. You can daddle on your phone in your free time. Or you can sit down and speak to your phone to yourself in your free time. But not during working hours, man. Do work. There's always something to be done. Come on. That's actually a good thumbnail. There we go. Got smoke in my eyes. Wer läuft mir rechts des Rechts echt? A pleasant surprise, a car just drove by, obeying the speed limit, which is a rare occurrence, particularly at this hour. One would think people who live here are more incentivized to obey the speed limit, particularly as it is a sensible one for the area, in my opinion, according to my judgment. But people who live here observe the speed limit just as much as people who live down the road somewhere else, which is crazy. I mean, come on. You live here. You wouldn't want people speeding by your kids when they're between cars and could get out onto the road any moment. People got across the road between cars because there's cars parked on both sides of the road. And that is by design. It's legal. I'm parked here mostly legally. I'm saying mostly legally because this car is a bit long for these parking spots, so I do stand out almost a foot into the road. But the road is still wide enough, unless I park opposite another car that is too long, for me to not be a legal hindrance, which means, yes, I am not in the parking lot entirely, but the bit that's in the road is there legally. I could park that bit in the road, because there's still 3 meters and 5 centimeters and more remaining of road width, which is a legal precedent in Germany set by courts. So I'm not in front of a dip in the curb, I'm not in front of a driveway, I'm not on a corner, I'm not at a pedestrian crossing, I'm not where you aren't allowed to park, so I'm allowed to park. And even that foot that's sticking out into the road is perfectly legal, which kind of feel odd because don't feel like it should be. Then again, they could have just taken an entire foot off the road and made it parking as well, in which case the entire road would be less wide. Like this, 2 cars can still pass in front of me, but they both have to be on the limits of their lane. Then again, there is no lanes here, which is why it's legal for me to stand like this. It is legal for one car to have to wait for the other to pass a narrow spot. That's just how it is. I just can't park opposite other long cars. Oh, that brings me on another tangent. One thing I find concerning, I guess, is there's communities like cyclists or so, cyclist communities, or just communities against people parking like trash or illegally, that totally hate on motor vehicle operators. And there's groups of motor vehicle operators that totally hate on people who complain about illegally parked vehicles or cyclists. And I understand both sides of the argument. I myself am a motor vehicle operator. But just, come on, don't be a dick, grow up. Then again, we all are human, apparently, so. I mean, typical example is big junctions, left turning lanes for motor vehicles with separate traffic lights. Cyclists have to first cross the junction and then they can turn left. But that means the cyclists have 2 lights, which means there is some cyclists who decide they need to go on the road. I understand why they decide it. Then again, the rule is the rule of the road. And either you voted for the politicians who decided to make the rules, or it's actually an and/or you signed off on obeying to those rules when you got your driver's license. Then again, for bicycle, you don't need a driver's license. So find the flaw in the logic. Oh yeah, right, not all cyclists have driver's licenses. Then again, in this country, most people of adult age have driver's licenses, even in cities, just because, hell, we're a car-centric country. Not as much as the US of A is, even though they're not a country. We are not a country either in that case. We have 16 Länder. They have 50 states, lower 48, Alaska and Hawaii. We are not as car-centric as them, as in we do not have as much parking and or as many lanes on roads. But we are car-centric economically. I believe it's, 5 to 10% of GDP directly, which means a lot. Surprise. I mean, we got VAG, we got BMW, we got Daimler. That's a lot of money coming into the country. I guess that's how it works. Then again, I would not be surprised if mid to long term, most all the countries will shift to service providing. Because, surprise, yes, you can manufacture things, but if you're manufacturing things and you're automating it, you need service providers to maintain your equipment. And sooner or later, that's going to be a bigger slice of the cake. I guess, but I'm not an economist. Blech. Mouthful. Second occupation I've butchered tonight. Yay. This is starting to become a very long talking to myself session, and I reckon I better get to bed. I hope you too realise when you better get to bed to sleep enough. I hope you sleep well when you do. I'll see you around. Cheerio.